All right, we're ready to move on to chapter 2.1, percent of a number. What we're going to learn today is how to find the percent of a number, and we're also going to use percents greater than 100. So copy this down in your notes. To find the percents of a number, such as 60% of 2,000, there's two ways to do it. One, first, you write the percent as a fraction and then you multiply. Or two, you write the percent as a decimal and then you multiply. The important thing to remember is the word of means multiply. So, excuse me, let's look at our first example. It says to write 5% as 5 over 100 or 1 over 20, then find 1/20th of 300. So when we write as a fraction, we take our 5%, we write it as 5 over 100. We can reduce 5 over 100 to 1/20th, and then we take 1/20th times 300. So we can write that over 1, and then we can cross reduce. We divide by 20, and we get 15. So 15 times 1 and 1 times 1 is equal to 15 over 1. So we can say 5% of 300 is equal to 15. Make sure you copy all of this in your notes. So now we want to find 25% of 180 by writing the percent as a decimal. This is example 2. So first, we write 25% as a decimal. So we know that that's 0.25. Remember, we always move the decimal 2 places to 100 when we have a percent. Now we have to multiply 180 times 0.25. So when we multiply decimals, we just multiply like it's a regular number. So we can go 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 8 is 40. Carry the 4. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 4 is 9. We put our 0. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 8 is 16. Carry the 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So if I add this up, I get 0, 0, 9 plus 6 is 15. Carry the 1, 45. Well, now notice that here we have 2 decimal spaces. So we start here and we move our decimal 2 places over. So we can say, so 25% of 180 is equal to 45. So now let's look at example 3. It says find 120% of 75. Now remember, 100% of 75, just so we know, 100% of 75 is going to be 75. So 120% has to be more, right? 120% will be greater than 75. So the first thing we do is we write 120% as a fraction. So remember, 120 over 100. Okay, we can reduce this to 6/5. If we divide by 10, we get 12 over 10, and then we divide by another 2, we get 6/5. Or you could just divide by 20. So now if we take 6/5 of 75. Now remember, of means times, so we're going to go 6/5 times 75 over 1. I can cross reduce. I get 1 here and 15 here. So we get 6 times 15 on the top and 1 times 1 on the bottom. 6 times 15 is 90. 1 on the bottom, so we can say 120% of 75 equals 90. Notice that it's bigger than 75. Moving on to example 4. Remember, 150% is going to be way bigger than 28. So the first thing we do is we write 150% as a decimal. So remember, in order to do that, I just move over 2 spots and I get 1.5. Now I have to find 1.5 of 28, which is the same as saying 1.5 times 28. Go over here, 1.5. 8 times 5 is 40. 5 times 2 is 10 plus 4 is 14. Put my 0. 8 times 1 is 8. 2 times 1 is 2. Add that up. I get 42. I have 1 decimal space here. So I move my decimal over here so we can say, so 150% of 28 is equal to 42. Make sure you're copying all this. So now with example 5, what we're going to do is we're going to take what we know and we're going to apply it to a word problem. Here it says, refer to the graph. If 275 students took the survey, how many can be expected to have 3 televisions each in their house? So if I look at here, I know I have 3 televisions is 23%. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to write 23% is equal to 0.23. Write it as a decimal. Okay, so now we're going to take that 275 times 0.23. 5 times 3 is 15. Carry the 1. 21 plus 1 is 22. Carry the 2. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 2 is 8. Put my 0. 5 times 2 is 10. Carry the 1. 7 times 2 is 14 plus 1 is 15. Carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. Now I'm going to add this up. I get 5, 2, 13, and 6. Now I have 2 decimal spaces here, so I'm going to move it over 2. So I get 63.25. But my question here says, how many can be expected to have 3 televisions, right? Well, 63.25 is not a whole person, so I have to round that, and it's going to be 63 people, or students, okay, can be expected to have 3 TVs. And there's your final answer. So now you're going to complete your OYO problems in your packet and come to school with them ready to go tomorrow. See you then.